First of all, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to our third web session held in a series of discussions in collaboration with the MOTC, Tasmo Digital Valley, and the QSER department. I shall proceed with my review for about 40 minutes and leave a good 20 minutes to answer your live questions and share with you explicitly all the information that may help you take the long-awaited decision to protect the data you have transmitted over the internet without the fear that someone, somewhere, has tampered with its contents, which may jeopardize your institution's direct interests. This session, in particular, shall concentrate on the electronic digital signature, as it is no longer sufficient to connect some pages of the commercial website of an institution with its relative information systems, as the internet technologies have become an integral part of the progress in the field of informatics, so that it's difficult to identify the boundaries between what is specific to companies in terms of devices and information and what falls within the scope of public sites and distributed computer system in a loosely coupled manner. Information technology is at the service of every person, provided that it does not affect his or her individual identity, rights, private life, or individual or public freedom. It goes without saying, though, that going paperless is very easy to adapt and implement on condition you take advantage of all what is expected of you to protect your data from hackers who are waiting for you to make the slightest mistake or even an oversight to jump on your back to thieve your data, ask for a ransom, blackmail you, sell your data to competitors, which is, sorry, gentlemen, the slightest mistake or even an oversight to jump on your back to thieve your data, ask for a ransom, blackmail you, sell your data to competitors, which is actually known as espionage, which does not mean at all militarily, as the commercial espionage ruins a country economically or drains its resources, not to speak of sabotaging your country's energy or radio communication and other facilities that may be jeopardized by this cyber attack. Therefore, I must admit that the precautionary measures taken by a part of the enterprise's general security plan, which dictates how to proceed and allocates the required funding to this effect. In brief, there must be a radical change of concept on how to look on cybersecurity, its benefits, the repercussions the entity could face, and who is to blame when the entity has been hacked and forced to close its doors as a consequence. Now, what exactly do we need to safeguard our interests? And are SMEs included in this threat? Of course they are. What is a hacker's concept? And what about the Qatar's digital law? Is it mandated? And how does it protect the users in general? Of course, there are 1,001 questions we may ask, and still we do not endeavor to protect ourselves from those whose main business is to disrupt our business and steal as many information they may collect. By adding insult to injury, the hacker could be thieving your data for months and you have no idea or clue about it. And what you realize and come to know about it, the harm is already done and there is nothing left for you to do except picking up bits and pieces and finding the fastest way to shut down because your enterprise image has been deformed, twisted, and collapsed. Therefore, I prepared for you a PowerPoint presentation that may clear any ambiguous point you may have and streamline the flow of information that you may be able to use to protect your enterprise from possible hacking. Kindly bear with me for a second for the presentation. There we are. We're talking about digital certificates, all right? And of course, the first thing that comes to our mind with a digital certificate is Cryptographic Control Policy ISO 27002, meaning that even if you want to comply with ISO, you must have a digital certificate installed into your system. And therefore, the definition of cryptography is a method of storing and transmitting data in a form that only those it's intended for can read and process. Actually, what happens is that you change the data into a hash, and the hash is then changed with an SMIME system to a what you call something, a combination, a hassle that nobody can read. Therefore, I would say Cryptographic Control Policy ISO 27002 controls can be used to achieve different information security objectives. Confidentiality, using encryption of information to protect sensitive or critical information, either stored or transmitted. Integrity, authenticity, using digital signature certificates or message authentication codes to verify authenticity or integrity of stored, transmitted, sensitive or critical information or data. Non-repudiation, using cryptographic techniques to provide evidence of the occurrence of an event or action, duly timestamped. Authentication, using cryptographic techniques to authenticate users and other system entities requesting access or transacting with system users, entities, and resources. Cryptographic PKI has two main goals: to guarantee that the information someone is sending you is private and can't be read by anyone else. And second is to ensure that the person sending you data across the internet is who they say they are. We'll come to that and I'll explain it more explicitly in the coming slide or two. Cryptographic controls are often seen as one of the key weapons in the security arsenal. Incorrect selection of cryptographic technologies and techniques or the poor management of cryptographic material, example keys and certificates, can create vulnerabilities themselves. Authentication. Now, of course, if you want to, when you deal on the internet, you don't know who's at the other end you're dealing with. So you need to know who's that person is, and that falls under authentication. A digital certificate gives the receiver assurance that the message was created and sent by the sender. How? Because when you sign an email, digitally sign an email, you automatically attach to that mail the digital ID of the user, of the sender. So when it arrives to the recipient can click on the icon located on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and it checks to whom this certificate has been issued. If it is issued to the recipient who had sent you the email, then you have authenticated the sender, the author of the email. 2, you create non-repudiation, meaning that you cannot deny that you have sent the email, nor the recipient can deny not having received it, which actually in a court of law, that's what's required. You have to authenticate the sender and the user with the required time stamping. 3, integrity. And what do we mean by integrity? A digital certificate ensures that the message was not altered in transit. Now, I'll go a step further, and I would say that when you send an email and you say go, send, what happens? The mail passes. It could go from, let's say, your office in West Bay to another office right next door in the same building in West Bay. And how do you know how it got there? You don't know. You don't know the path the message has taken its route. Therefore, to make sure that it hasn't been altered, and if it were altered, please pay attention here, if it were altered, a red line would appear on the screen from left to the extreme right of your upper side of the screen, telling you that this email content have been tampered with since it was sent by the user, by the author. So therefore, you would either ignore this email, or if you know whom it is, you would give him a call and inquire if this email that you have sent is true or not. Now, in other words, I would say, if you receive, actually, when you receive the email in question and there is no red line across your screen, you're 100% sure that the email you have received is exactly the same as it was sent, and that's, you have already complied with authentication. You know who had sent the message. Non-repudiation, you have ensured the continuity of the email in question. Confidentiality, number 4, and that means if the content of that email are sensitive or is sensitive, then you can encrypt it. And the encryption goes up to #256 and RSA 2048 bits. Now, it takes something like 356 trillion years to decipher any email, whether it's one word or 10,000 words. An email is an email, and cracking its confidentiality would take you 356 trillion, not billion, trillion years. Why? Because if you have a 40-bit encryption, it would take you 40 years to decipher that email. If you have 41 bits, you need 80 years. If you have 43 bits, then you have 160, and so on and so forth. So by the time you get to 2048 bits, you get to 356 trillion years. Now I want to say, no, we shall not bother about 356 trillion years. I'm going to say 100 years. All right, 100 years is too long. Why don't we say 50 years? Well, 50 years is again too long. I can guarantee you that the content of your email for 15 years, and that's what's required by law for all accounting mail and data to be secured. So for 15 years, you are 100% sure that this email, nobody would be able to crack it. And what is important, what is confidential today, tomorrow or next year is no more confidential. It becomes public property. So you don't really need more than that. But strictly speaking, as I told you, it would take that long to decipher a regular encrypted message. Digital certificate for email, using digital signatures in email. Digitally signing an email shows a recipient that the email they have received is coming from a legitimate source. If you look at the slide here, and you would find with the red circle, you would find that there is a padlock, a blue padlock, and there is an icon and a yellow bulb in it. So what does that mean? The icon is the integrity of the message, and the padlock refers to that this mail has been authenticated, has non-repudiation, has its contents duly viewed, and the blue padlock refers directly to the encryption part of the message, meaning that from the time it was sent until you have received it, nobody had even not only tampered, they could tamper with the message, but they may not see and read your text message. So you want to preserve your email, you need a digital signature with a qualified X509 protocol. And this is actually, and this leads us to ultimately to the Qatari digital law, which says we want and we speak of the advanced and the advanced signature, which is advanced and qualified digital signature, which have the characteristics that we have spoken about. If you have that in a court of law in Qatar, you are safe 100% that you have protected your data. And if anything has gone wrong, you have the right to claim damage. Email protected by S-BAN. remain encrypted from the moment they are sent until the moment they are opened, ensuring that they cannot be read in transit. These messages and attachments also remain encrypted while stored on mail servers, adding another layer of security that covers at-rest information, meaning that your mail, your email is safe. Even if you are on MS-365 and you've sent regular email. Now I have one thing to raise for you here. You've sent your email to MS-365 and you stored it there, but it's not encrypted. Any person who has access to MS-365 can view your email, read its content, mess with it, and you don't know. But if you have it encrypted, then by all means, whoever gets and has access to MS-365, he can't do anything with your email. Not even your, even if you have your servers in on-premise in your offices, your IT specialist would not be able to read your email or change its content because it's encrypted. And to mess with encrypted mail, you immediately have a warning coming out telling you, don't trust this email, it has been tampered with. And that's when you refer to your IT guy and you tell him what happened. S-MIME email is protection from spear phishing attacks. It can help companies remain compliant with privacy and security regulations. Using S-MIME, like sealing your message in a lockbox and only the intended recipient has the key, protects private or sensitive information, provides tamper evidence seal. Now, here we're talking about asymmetric encryption, symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric encryption is when you encrypt your mail and you send with your mail over the internet your key, which you have sealed it with. A hacker may stop the mail, open it, tamper with it, and re-lock it and send it to you. With asymmetric system, cryptography, it is into two keys, private key and public key. The private key shall always remain on your computer or on your laptop, on your mobile, wherever you want to have it installed, and you have to look after it very dearly. And you send the public key. The public key is the sensitive point with which the recipient may encrypt to you your email. So, assuming you want to send Mr. X an encrypted email, then you definitely must have Mr. X's public key. If he does not have a public key or he does not have a digital signature, then you cannot encrypt your mail to him or to her. Both parties should have a digital signature, al-muwathaq. Otherwise, it wouldn't suffice to encrypt. And what happens actually, the mail wouldn't really go. So you would be just wasting your time. However, if you have a digital signature yourself, it's good enough to sign your mail and protect your domain and protect your the content, that it is not tampered with during its transit. But hackers may read your mail, but they cannot change its content. Using SMIME, encryption, that's the same of what I have talked before. Now, EU standards based signature portfolio with compliance standards. We're talking about the X509 PKI, digital certificate and signature technology, and which rules and regulations require that. Of course, it's ISO 27000 and ISO 23000 and 27001 and 2 as well. So, and it shows here EU advanced signature for high value EU transactions, EU qualified signature for legally regulated EU transactions. And that's what CLTech can provide to you right here in Qatar. We can provide for you the qualified electronic digital signature that allows you to benefit from encryption, from authentication, from non-repudiation, and integrity. Now we come to the Qatar e-signature legality in Qatar. E-signature legality summary. E-signatures are legally valid and admissible in the court of law. Qatar follows a model where e-signatures or digital signatures issued by a certifying authority are considered legally valid. Specific use cases for e-signatures are indicated in the ECT law. The Electronic Commerce and Transactions Law, established in 2010, highlights that a handwritten signature, and that's very important here, that a handwritten signature isn't always needed for a contract to be considered credible, and that contracts can't be refused for simply being electronic. They usually be seen as such as long as legally able individuals have reached an agreement. This can be by agreeing verbally, electronically, or by physically signing something. In other words, with a qualified digital signature, the other party you're dealing with knows exactly who you are and knows exactly that this is the contract which has been duly signed and supported by the Qatari law, which is equal to a handwritten wet ink signature. PGP, image, what you call them, image signatures installed on your documents are not taken into consideration at all. And you may lose your case in a court of law should you use those methods. Previously, and I would say just about the turn of the century, those were the ongoing electronic signature, if I may say so. Now we're talking about the digital, and there's a big difference between the electronic signature and the digital signature. Qatar e-signature legality. Speedy HR document preparations with pre-approved templates, easy updates for each employee, new employee onboarding process, as well as 360-degree view of employee files. End-use agreements include sales and service terms, new retail account opening documents, invoices, shipment details, user manuals, etc. So everything, the Qatari law has provided everything for the Qataris and for those residing in Qatar alike to use the electronic digital signature, sign with it their email instead of sending a handwritten wet signature over a piece of paper to its destination. What does a successful attack mean for your business? In short, it's pretty devastating. According to Deloitte, 1/3 of consumers said they would stop dealing with a business following a cybersecurity breach, even if they do not suffer a material loss. According to Aviva, after your company is breached, 60% of your customers will think about moving and 30% actually do. Your company's brand image and the trust that you've worked so hard to build up can be obliterated if news of a data breach surfaces to the public. You would be actually picking up the bits and pieces I spoke with my introductory note. Who is being phished? According to, I don't think we need to go through that. It's a waste of time. It's a repetition. Well, this is anatomy of a spear phishing attack. In my opinion, you should know what a spear phishing attack is. A spear phishing attack is somebody who's impersonating you and who's sending an email with your credentials, meaning that he had taken your email domain and used it himself in your name. It could be malicious, it could be financial, it could be a theft, it could be family, it could be anything. It could ruin your marital status. It could be hazardous if you allow your email to be spear phished. You have to be 100% sure. To be 100% sure that your email, your domain name is safe, you need a digital signature, because the digital signature becomes one with your domain, and the hacker cannot steal the highly sophisticated digital algebraical equations coming in use. Now we are using algebraical equations to make the hash and to make the encryption. But scientists are working nowadays on physics. And that would, if now we're talking of 356 trillion years, then with physics, I reckon it's going to be maybe 700 trillion years. But as I said, who's going to live that long? Let's just say we're 100% sure and adamant that my email for the coming 20 years is 100% safe, whether in motion or at rest. With phishing also, COO, CEO fraud. Now just imagine an employee receives an email from his boss, from his CEO, telling him, the accountant, telling him, transfer to me this amount. And he will do it immediately and willingly because it's a direct request of the CEO to him. And that really is a hack. So how do you go about it? You go about it with a digital signature, as I said earlier. The digital signature is your bread and butter. It's your safety. It's your well-being. It's your protection. It's your to-do, well-to-do. You cannot just say, nobody has twisted your arm to go on the internet. And you know that the internet is wild. So if you do not protect yourself in this wild jungle, then you have to accept the consequences. Digital certificates protect your organization from identity theft and forgery. You can think of a digital certificate as a kind of a virtual passport, a way of proving your identity in online transactions. Just as your local, I mean, when you ask me, what's your name, and I tell you my name is Salah Rustam, and you tell me, do you have any document to prove it? And then I say, yes, I have my QID, and I show my QID. And it's accepted. Why is it accepted? Why didn't he take my word for it that I'm Salah Rustam? Because he wanted an authority to testify that I am Salah Rustam. And that's why you ask for the passport of a person to make sure of his identity. Likewise, in an email, you ask for the identity. And what is the identity that you're seeking? It is the digital ID that you click on the icon and it pops out for you, proving your identity, which has been given to you by GlobalSign. GlobalSign is a certificate authority, and Cieltec and Ciel are a registration authority in the GlobalSign hierarchy and hierarchy. So you want to be 100% sure, you definitely need a digital certificate. Now we're getting close and short by time. Well, last I would say, I'm not cover anything else, although I still have some more. If you think your organization is safe from phishing attack because you haven't yet been targeted, well, think it all over again. It's a matter of time you'll be hacked. I'm sorry to be negative and passive, but I would like to draw attention to the importance of the issue. You need digital certificates to safeguard your work in peril on the internet or in the internet.